This is Radiant Voices Media.
Welcome to the Paths We Take podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DeSange. Let's hit a path. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of The Paths We Take. Today's episode, I am joined by Max Stevens. Max joins me on the podcast today to talk about national championships in the steeplechase, and we talk about all things running, essentially. We talk about footwear, which I've wanted to talk about for so long, about how many shoes you really need, the difference between different brands, different stack heights, all of that fun stuff. Now, Max has also been in the running world for years, from starting out as a kid, just looking for an exercise to get out of school, to then representing Australia and running at a more elite level. Max has built a career through consistency, resilience, and genuine love for the sport of running. The journey doesn't just stop at competing. Max also, of course, chats about the running company, where you can find him here in Adelaide. And he chats about helping everyday runners and athletes perform at their best by putting them into the right shoes. Today's episode, we dive into his journey through the highs, the lows of elite sport, what it really takes to stay in the game long term, and how his perspective on running has evolved over the years. I thoroughly enjoyed this chat with Max. We could have talked for hours, essentially. I think he is definitely getting re-added on the list and hopefully comes back on the podcast in the future. But without further ado, let's get into today's path. All right, I want to talk to you about sunglasses made for runners by runners. That's why I wear Re Your Run sunglasses. Lightweight, zero bounce, and they stay locked in even when you are sweating through speed sessions, long runs, out in the sun, whatever it might be. They are stylish enough for daily wear, durable enough for race day, and just the perfect combo. Honestly, I love brands that get the sport, get the grind, and support the running community, not just the podium finishers. If you're serious about your run gear and want shades that perform as hard as you, go check out Re Your Run. Use my code Jordan10 to save some money and get yourself some stylish sunnies that actually perform and look good. Run smart, stay protected, look good doing it with Re Your Run sunnies. Thank you for coming on the mic. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Now, the first question that I like to ask everybody, Max, is if the person listening right now had an autobiography in front of them and it was your story, what are some maybe cliff notes that they would find throughout that story that you think would be pretty interesting?
Yeah, I as I said, I listened to a couple of episodes coming in, and I've been stewing over this answer. But I don't know. I think I've sort of just always kind of just gone with the flow and taken opportunities that have come my way and sort of, I think, accidentally fall into a lot of things, like with whether that's running or even the shop now. So, yeah, almost like jack of all trades, master of none in a lot of ways. But
that's the best way for things to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like falling
just
into
organically.
place, and it feels a bit more natural, and I don't know, just the spark of the moment is quite interesting and fun.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know if I have a decent answer for that just yet. We'll have to maybe we circle back into it. But
that's good.
University dropout, close but no cigar with running, and then or semi-reluctant businessman, but now very, very fulfilled, I'd say. Really enjoy life. So very lucky.
Oh, good. I think it's a very hard question because I think too, we're always a bit modest and we don't know what to bring up. Myself too, I've thought about this question a lot. And I think I would find it hard to answer as well because I don't know. I think it's all relative, right? Like what I find relative would be a bit different to what you find relative, but maybe get started. You were saying that you didn't continue with uni.
Yeah.
What was that reason?
Oh, a lot of different things. Studying and me probably just didn't get along. So yeah, like I was a decent student. Yeah, like no problems through school, and then got blown away by a construction management uni open day talk and thought that's what I'm going to do. Dad comes from a construction background, so I was like, yeah, let's give this a go. And 3-hour lecture on different types of retaining walls was enough to turn me off of that. So I did 6 months of that, did some teaching, got into a school. Turns out teaching's bloody hard. So yeah, shout out to all the teachers. But so yeah, I made the call that this isn't for me. And then so the running was getting a little bit better, so I was focusing more on that. And then had basically fully committed to running. Then started a bit of media and comms on the side, which I really enjoyed. Like the content for that was great, and like certainly learnt a lot. But then started 2020. Obviously, that was meant to be an Olympic year, and my chances of going to the Olympics were looking good. So let's go all in on running again. So parked that, and COVID happened. Never went back. Here we are selling shoes for a living now. So it's all worked out. Certainly, I think, I don't know, like, I think at the end of the day, like I still learned so much from everything I did. Unfortunately, there's no piece of paper at the end of the day to show for it. But at the end of the day, you learn so many different skills and like, I mean, apart from maybe construction management, like learning how to teach and understand and read people is so important for everyone. And then obviously media and comms, like being able to communicate properly with people. And turns out ChatGPT came along and it doesn't, it's irrelevant now anyway. But certainly like learnt lots. But I think, as I said before, like just everything's kind of just fallen into place, luckily for me. But obviously you've got to be the right person at the right time. So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And I think too, like sometimes you have to put yourself in the right place at the right time. Did you find that you were always in the right place, or for things to fall into place, or did it just naturally kind of come to be?
Kind of, but I think naturally I'm the type of person where, like, if I'm in on something, I'm in, and especially with what's ended up happening with the shop. So before I ended up at the running company, I worked at Run DNA, which used to be called Joggers World. So I worked there for just over 6 years, and loved my time there, but. I think ultimately I just like loved being able to connect with the runners that came in and talk about shoes and hang out with my mates and talk running all day. And then an opportunity came up to go to the running company. Sort of Chicken, who founded the running company, he's been a great mentor of mine. We discussed, what does the future look like? And I thought I might work for a brand or something like that. But the opportunities for that in Adelaide, being a small market, is fairly slim, and I wasn't really kind of keen to move just yet. And then the sort of discussion came about, well, why don't you have a store of your own? And I thought I'd go open a nice store, probably down Henley Beach or somewhere like that. No secrets, but and then it ended up, it was the right time for Chicken to part with the store, and the right time for me to buy in. And that was kind of at the crossroads of me not giving up on running, but stopping pursuing that more professional dream, I guess. And we haven't looked back. And obviously I worked hard enough, and he saw in me a potential future store owner. And once it's your baby, you certainly work hard for every dollar that potentially walks in your door. But I think all through school, all through uni, everyone bangs on about find something you love doing and find a way to get paid to do that. I found my thing is I just love selling running shoes and connecting with the running community through the shop. So we found a way to get paid for it.
There you go. Because it sounds like, all the steps that you've taken have essentially naturally kind of moved you to where you are now, right? And like you were saying, the skills that you learned from uni, the skills you learned from teaching, like you can take that into multiple situations. And I think like it's important for us to reflect on those kind of things, because I think too, we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And like, I look at myself in the past as well, the things that I've done, the things that, I've moved on from to where I am now. And like, I think it's easy to sometimes think of that as maybe a failure as well. But like, if you don't think of it that way and you think of it as, oh, well, I came out with X, Y, and Z and I'm using those things now, it makes it even more fun, really.
Yeah.
When you found kind of what you're made for.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I think I kind of look back to, like, if I take a step back and I look at whether it's friends, jobs, or like our customers that come in, and even thinking back to like when I was a kid, like if you'd said to me, like Max, you've got the opportunity to run and own a sports store or a running store, I'd say that's sick. Like you get to hang out with all the new shoes, and I think the pinch me thing for me always is like when we go into a buying period. So like we get to see products at times 6, 12, 18 months in advance of you guys as the customer. And yes, Instagram, you get these leaks and stuff, but I see the leaks and like I've seen them 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So like by the time it actually comes to market, like I'm like desensitized to it almost. But that stuff, that touch and feel, that new thing that no one else gets to see, that's still like that's probably a bit of a sucker for the shoe tech and
especially now, like
stuff.
There's so many cool things coming out, and there's so many things that has come out over the past, really. And I feel like the running space, shoes, technology, it's all exploded, even in the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it's hard sometimes to wrap your head around what's been updated, where to go when you're in a store, or like what brand to go with or whatever. Like it's evolving so rapidly. It is interesting. It is fun, but I do understand it is hard to kind of keep up with all of the changes, really.
And I think that's where, like, obviously this climate right now that we're in is super tricky. Like obviously cost of living's nuts. But then the convenience of shopping online, like, I mean, my partner, if you order something from Iconic, you get this big package and none of it fits or you don't like any of it, you just send it straight back and you get a full refund and free returns. And like even the Iconic themselves, not that they'd say this publicly, but they've shot themselves in the foot because postage is bloody expensive. And with fuel prices going up with this crazy war that's going on, like postage is going to cop a hit. And like it's a massive expense for us as a business. But us as a specialty retail store, like we need to give the customer a reason to come in the door. And once they're in, like ensure they keep coming back, like give them value for every visit they have. So for us, our job is to try and help navigate that minefield of all these shoes, because you walk in, you see this massive wall and there's all these, like everything's flash and high stack and blah, 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 blah. It's like candy store, but our job's to try and narrow that down, because for most runners, it's on that day, there's only one of those shoes that's going to work for them. So how do we cull 80 into one potentially? So our job as retail is to help support the runner, help provide them with a shoe that's going to give them the best possible experience, take the guesswork out of it. And that comes from us, being, as we've already touched on, like we're part of the community and, live and breathe it. And we want to try and hopefully provide you as the runner with the best possible shoe underneath your foot to help achieve your goals.
I'm a big believer when you are looking for a running shoe, I'm a big believer going into a store versus, to try things on, to find something right for your foot. And this is coming from, yes, maybe the physio side of me, but also the runner side of me as well. And like, especially the last couple of months, I've been dealing with like an Achilles niggle, and like I've noticed massively, I've always in the back of my mind noticed the importance of knew the importance of shoes and whatnot, but massively improved the Achilles niggle with just kind of the footwear options that I'm using, right? I think like footwear is so important, and footwear, it's hard to get the right shoe when you're just shopping online.
Because you don't know. And I think as well for us is that a shoe that worked for you 12 months ago, the update comes out that potentially is completely different, or they discontinue your shoe for whatever reason. So for us, there's always an alternative. Like we always have a solution. It's just, what does that solution look like in the flesh? And we come to that through like heaps of training, heaps of trying shoes on, but then as much as anything, like it's experience. Like, I'm sure we're not going to talk shop the whole time. We'll probably talk a lot of running as well, but I've had Achilles issues. I've had plantar fasciitis. ITB kept me out for the better part of 9 months. And then if I haven't had it, one of the other guys in the shop's probably had it, or I've served a bunch of people that have had it, and we work out. It's ultimately it's problem solving. If the customer knew what they wanted, they wouldn't have come in. They would have got it online. So how can we help solve the problem?
When you have somebody come in, let's maybe start with, you have somebody come in, they're looking for maybe like a daily trainer, your average runner who maybe does a session in the morning or the evening before, after work or whatever, isn't looking for anything special, just looking for something that, can help them help them train
Yeah.
3-4 days a week or whatnot. There's so much on the wall. There's so much out there these days. And like you were saying, there's a lot of flashy
Yeah.
shoes out there right now. What do you think they need to start looking into?
Or I guess for us, like when someone comes in the door, like and the way that I kind of try and teach the staff is that we want it to be, it's a transaction, but we want to build a relationship. Most of the people that come into the store that have obviously run like performance running goals, we see walkers, we see like heaps of postpartum, like new mums come through, old ladies that take their dog for the walk. But for us, if we've got a runner that comes in the door, the last thing I want to do is sell them a bad pair of shoes, because more than likely I'm going to roll up to an event, pin my bib on, and then they're standing next to me on the start line. So it's in my best interest to make sure I do a good job with them. So, but like it's for me anyway. I think of it. There's kind of two ways of thinking. There's fun and there's function. So fun didn't really exist pre-COVID. Like shoes were pretty boring. You had your racing shoes, but racing shoes were flat and aggressive and hard, and they were basically exclusively for the more elite guys because they had the strength to be able to handle that type of shoe. Whereas now we've got shoes like Super Blast, Supercomp Trainers, Cloud Monster Hypers, those sorts of shoes that are fun and exciting, and they give that pop and that bounce. And then a lot of ways they're shoes that get you out the door. So that plus your carbon plated racing shoes, that provides the fun side of things. But then the other thing's function. Like, what are we trying to achieve with this shoe? Is this a shoe that we need to try and nurse someone back from an injury? Like if it's tib post, maybe we need something a little bit more structured. Or if it's an Achilles, we're either looking something stiff rocker or something with a nice high heel pitch. So it's about, I mean, more than anything really, the customer comes in the door, it's kind of an interview. Like we just have a discussion like we're having now to try and build this picture of someone, same as you guys as physios or podiatrists, whatever. A new patient comes in, you want to get to know them as quickly as possible and work out what you need to do to help them with their, whether it's recovery or to help them run faster, whatever that may be. So you probably almost learn more from that initial discussion than what you would by getting to run on the treadmill or what have you. But it's partly like, what's your injury history? What shoes have you had in the past? Have they worked? Did they not work? Why? And then also like, what do you want to try? Like running's cool. As like, it's not, you go back 10 years ago, like no disrespect, but the crap we ran in compared to now, like it's amazing that we're still running. And it's to me, it's no wonder that the sport's grown so much, because the product that you have available to you now is so good. And I think that we're starting to see like Super Blast 3 launch the other week. Super Blast 1 and 2 has been like the jogging and the kind of do-it-all shoe for the market. But because the product is so good, that initial demand on shoes like Super Blast 3 and even Mega Blast really, it probably wasn't quite to the same extent as what previous launches of Super Blast were, because like I don't need to upgrade because I've got this great shoe already. So I'll let Jordan run in it for a bit and see what he thinks. And if he likes it, then I'll go on down to the running company and grab myself a pair. So yeah, it's a forever evolving market, but long answer to the story is completely individual preference. But yeah, there's no one size fits all. Just depends.
Do different brands offer something different? Like, do you find that New Balance offers something versus ASICS versus like, does everybody, or are there similarities between?
I mean, yes and no, because like ultimately the brands are competing against each other. They believe they have a shoe that is the best racing shoe or the best stability shoe or the best recovery run shoe. So everyone's trying to go at each other, but even within that, like each brand is still so unique in their own DNA that you're going to find that some brands ultimately work for you and others don't. But our job as specialty retail in particular is to challenge the customer. As I said, if they didn't need help, they wouldn't come in. So, and a brand like Puma is a really good example of that. So you go back, pre-COVID, Puma was not a running brand at all. Fast forward to now, like Puma's our number one racing brand in store, thanks to the Fast R3 and the DV8 Elite 3 and 4. But yeah, we sort of watched Puma for a couple of years. We saw probably 3 or 4 ranges from them, but they had new leadership come in sort of just before COVID. And they said, mate, we've got to be good at running. If we want to be a serious sporting brand again, we need to be strong in running. So they kind of went and hunted and handpicked a bunch of product designers from all these different brands across the globe and built this team and basically said, go your hardest, which for a shoe designer, like that's nirvana. So they got to start from scratch this brand. And yes, it took a little bit of time to build that technology up, but what you're seeing now is a brand that's, obviously making serious good performance products, but then they're backing it up with really good daily training. And their mates across the highway at Adidas, like they've always had some of the best in class racing product. But the thing that kind of had let them down for a while was that daily training, that jogger. And now they've got that jogger that backs up the performance range. So brands like that, like our job's to keep pushing that onto the customer and say, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And you can largely thank the Hokas and the Ons of the world that came in and disrupted and threw something new at the runner. And it's forced these big traditional brands to rethink how they do things. And we've got, like, honestly, there's no bad brands, which is such a great position to be in as a runner. Makes your life tricky to determine what to get, but keeps things interesting. That's for sure.
If you had a runner come in and, they maybe have an event coming up, let's say a 10K run, they are running maybe 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Nothing like, they don't have any like huge goals or anything like that. They're just kind of a daily trainer. 'Cause I think a lot of the times too, we all have multiple pairs of shoes. Yeah. We have maybe way more than we need, but is there reason behind owning multiple pairs of shoes when you are training for something, when you're training consecutive days or?
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of these things that, and like people will explain it in different ways, but I kind of like to use cycling as an analogy because you've got a road bike, you've got a time trial bike, you've got a mountain bike, BMX, blah, blah, blah. Think if you're running in the same way, like you've got different shoes for different purposes. So, and even within like a road bike, you've got your aero road bikes and then you've got your climbing road bikes. So, and certain shoes are going to do a one job better than another. There's a lot of shoes in the market now that will do a really great job of pretty much everything, like your Evo Cells, your Super Blasts. But like for us, it's like, well, it's partly budget as well. Like, can you afford to do that? But then sort of trying to build a rotation, and even like we use gait analysis a lot. Like we're still a big believer in that, and the camera doesn't lie when you've got a customer in there and they're running on the treadmill, and we can see that the shoe compresses a little bit differently, or they might pronate through a shoe a little bit more than another, or not. Even the heels, they might strike a little bit more through the heel on one shoe where they're a bit more midfoot on the other. So the way that loads the body is going to change depending on the shoe, and we definitely recommend that if you're going to have multiple shoes in your rotation, you have different shoes, because that slight change in load, that'll slightly offload and slightly load different parts of your body from the ground up. And the old thing of foam is obviously a soft compound, and you got to think about midsole foams as they've got thousands of little bits of air in the foam. That's what helps to make it light. But when every time you take a step, you kind of squash those little air pockets down. So if you can give the shoe a little bit more time to recover in between wears, ultimately you're running on like a marshmallow. If you squash a marshmallow, leave it on the desk, it's going to bounce back up. So think about the shoes in the same way. Running on a tired pair of shoes all day. I'd challenge anyone to spend 8 hours at work in a pair of sneakers and go for a run in that shoe, and then do the same thing a couple of days later without having worked in it. And I guarantee the shoe's a much better experience underfoot, having not been in it all day.
What does a shoe fitting look like for you guys? Because I think that can be an interesting thing when somebody's coming in to fit a shoe. You were just saying that you do like gait analysis and all of that kind of stuff. What typically should people expect when they are fitting a shoe for them?
I guess the way we operate, the running company, we're Australia's biggest running specialty network. We've got each store's individually owned, but each store's kind of grown from within. So to own a running company store, essentially, the loose thing was always you've got to kind of do an apprenticeship almost. So like you spend time in a store, you work, and then you're sort of like, yep, you can go. So I worked at our store for 4 years before ultimately taking ownership of the store. But for us, that process is similar regardless to which, obviously subtle differences, but the overall process is the same regardless to which door you go in through. But for us, like I said, it largely is that conversation piece to start with. But then, and it depends, we're not too fussed on how much it pronates if you're chucking on a pair of Meta Speeds, for instance. Like you're in that shoe for such a small amount of time, and that's for race day. But certainly that shoe that's that jogging shoe, like that sort of 80% of your week sort of shoe, that's important. And we want to try and ensure that that shoe is kind of as stable as we possibly can make it, because it's, I mean, you as a physio, you'd know the exact number, but however many times your body weight goes through your foot every time you take a step while you run. So that's a lot of load to go through what's a small piece of rubber at the end of the day. So ensuring that we have a nice stable platform underfoot is really key. So we run through gait analysis, educate the customer. What are we looking for? Why is that important? We look to see how much someone pronates. That's the body's natural mechanism for absorbing shock, so it's a good thing. Let's let it happen. But we want to try and guide that foot. So how much your foot does or doesn't pronate, that kind of determines how much support and structure we may need within the shoe. But yeah, take footage of that. Take footage of their old shoe if they bring that in. Let's see how that's worn. That gives us a look into your life outside of the store. And yeah, compare the footage, try some new shoes. And yeah, it's basically just trial and error. If we put someone in one shoe, they try it on, they go, this is beautiful, functions really well, nice and comfortable, then great, they're gone. But it's, for us, it's 3, 4, 5 different pairs of shoes sometimes. So just case by case, but ultimately, what do we need this shoe to do? Is this shoe here to, get you back running from returning from an injury, or is this a shoe that you want to run a PB in, or is this a shoe that you're trying to, come back, return to running from? So it might be a walk at the moment, but you're doing your sort of walk jogs, and hopefully in 6 months' time you're comfortably running 5K again. So, but complete case by case, but overall build a picture, help narrow down the wall, and then just test, evaluate, and then go again.
There you go. Yeah, no, I wanted you to bring that up because I think, again, like putting myself like physio aside, I think footwear is key. And I'm a big believer, like even as a runner, I'm a big believer that like we can always focus on what we can, like take what we can't change out of the equation. Like when it comes to, let's say, injury prevention, or when it comes to, preventing, let's say, slipping or whatever it might be, like we can always prevent things by wearing appropriate footwear. Like I'm a big believer, and I've come into the store and I've done exactly what you've discussed. So I think like I wanted you to bring that up because like I think it's important to actually feel the shoe. Yeah. When you're trying it on. And again, it's hard to do that when you are shopping online. Yeah. And I understand that like it's more convenient shopping online. And I do think though, like footwear is something that if you can just take the time to maybe just go into store and figure out what's best for you, really. Well, your shoe is your tool. That helps you achieve whatever you need to do in running. Yeah. Regardless of how big or small that job is. You can't, again, back to cycling, you can't ride without a bike. Yeah. Your running shoe is just as important as the bike is in cycling. So do it properly, invest the time, and ultimately like getting that part of things right potentially saves you a lot of visits to the physio and podiatry potentially down the track. Yeah. So invest and be smart about it. There you go. And look, if I put my physio hat on, a lot of the times I say, just go get a foot assessment from like, somewhere that knows how to fit a shoe basically and go from there basically, because a lot of people's injuries can be solved by changing your footwear or getting the appropriate footwear. So, and on the other side of that as well, like we have people that come in and it's like, I think I'm a bit niggly. It might be my shoes. Let's get you up on the treadmill. Let's have a look. Like if this is your current complaint, this shoe looks good. Like I don't see any reason as to why this shoe is potentially contributing to your injury at the moment. So go back to the physio and just probably do your strength exercises, which we're not always great at doing as runners, but it has to be done. There you go. I'm sure we'll get back to shoes and footwear. I know this is going to come to full circle. Running and whatever. But when did running start for you, essentially? I think probably like everything else, just kind of accidentally. So I was always very sporty. Probably like most guys my age, I was either going to play AFL or play cricket for the Australian team. Turns out I'm probably not tough enough to put my head over the footy. And then cricket, just not skilled enough and didn't have the patience, I think, either. But yeah, so like sports day year 7, did everything, did the 1500 and did okay. Like I think I was finished second, but there was probably only 4 of us in the race. And yeah, the
the coach or the one of the PE teachers I was at Emmanuel at this stage. I went to Emmanuel up until year 7, and Tony Checker, who a lot of the South Australian running community would know, Tony said, come and do state cross country champs so we can fill a team. So went and did that, and I had just the best day ever. I always, when you're a 13-year-old boy, anything to get out of day of school was good. But it was like hosing it down. It was muddy. It was cold and freezing. But it was a 3K race, and I wasn't very good. Like I think I finished 66th out of 120 odd. But I just loved it. I thought this is so good. I never had considered running at all. So I was like, I went to Sacred Heart from year 8 through year 12, and so year 8. No, they didn't have a team or anything necessarily, but I said, I had a great time last year. I'd love to go. And then, I finished 15th, and I was like, okay, well, maybe if I tried a little bit. I was still playing footy and cricket on the side, but I was like, maybe if I try a little bit at this, something might come of it. Next year, went back again. I think I finished 7th or something. Just missed out on making the state team. Then there's that little bit of extra incentive to, if you try even harder again, then you could go to nationals. So, I was sort of, this is what I'm going to do. Again, still played footy, but then cross country on the side, and finished 3rd to Jacob Cox and Luke Hargraves. Jacob, the running community here would know very well, and Luke was a great junior runner and struggled with some injuries since. It was basically from there. Just every year, just couldn't wait for cross country season, and so I started doing a little bit of pro running in the summer, and I was good at a state level, but would go to nationals, get belted, and I was okay with that. But once school finished, I spoke to Adam Diddick, who's the coach at Team Tempo. At the time, basically, it was just Jess, was now Stenson. Jess Trengo at the time, she was kind of like this figurehead. She'd made the 2012 London Olympic team in the marathon, and I was like, if I'm going to get a little bit serious about running, then that seems like the place to go. I went out there, and from there, it kind of just took off.
What do you think running did for you back then?
Probably a form of identity, I think, more than anything else. Just because running as a sport, obviously it was still a thing, but you'd have your fun runs, and City Bay was always a big deal. But it's not the behemoth that it is now. Running is cool now. Whereas when I was at school, I was kind of I wouldn't say I was bullied, but I was certainly it was a bit weird that I did running. And because I was certainly a better runner than I was a footballer, so people recognise the running results more than my my subpar efforts on the footy field on a Saturday. But I think it was probably just more a form of identity. And I think especially at that formative age through your teen years, you're always looking to be good at something, and I think you want to prove something to everyone that no, this is my thing and I'm really good at this. And being able to rock up to PE and you've got your state tracksuit pants on and that sort of stuff, you kind of crave that as a kid. So I think that's kind of what drew me in initially. And then, my relationship with running has changed so much over the years. And, it then sort of went from the thing that I did, the thing I identified as, to then how far can I take this? And a lot of it came from a lot of hard truths from Adam. I'm someone that I think Adam is to me, I still believe Adam is the best coach in Australia, and I'll argue that to the hills. But the thing with Adam is you have to buy into his structure. If you buy into Adam's structure in terms of the way that he sets out your training program and your load monitoring, and if you're open and communicate with Adam, then you get the best out of Adam, and ultimately he gets the best out of you as an athlete. And I don't consider myself to be a great natural athlete, but I was able to get everything out of myself training under Adam. I bought into all the systems that he had. I asked no questions. I just said, I basically just did exactly as I was told, and my results followed. And he was brutally honest with me at times and would say, you can try harder or you can do this better. And I was like, okay, if you say so, coach. And I did it. And sort of went from being competitive at state level to then being competitive on a national level, and then ultimately winning a national title in 2019, which was far beyond what I'd ever imagined was something I'd be capable of.
Yeah. Where do you think you had internal pressure at all? How do you deal with pressure? And was there pressure throughout you getting to that stage, do you think?
No. Honestly, I think it was all it was just internal motivation. And like, I know that that's like, I'm quite unique in that's like, that I can say it was like literally just, I thought just almost like I had a bit of that dog in me that like, this is what I'm going to do. Like mum and dad are like, they're very proud of me, but like, they're never saying, get out of bed, go for your run, or like, I never felt any pressure like that or anything like that. And yeah, Adam certainly wasn't like that at all. But I just had, I think you sort of go from being, it's a complete mindset shift. Like you go into, and like I'll use Jacob again as the example, but like I was almost like not scared of him, but I was like, you can't have that intimidation factor, right? Like you go in and like you'd go out to training or you go to a race and you go, well, Jacob's running, so like, oh yeah, well, I'll be second today, and then there'll be a couple others, and you're like, okay, well, I'm third or fourth, whatever, and you kind of you know the result before the race because you've already designed to the fact that you're not as good as them. But then once you shift that mindset and go, like your training gets a bit better, and you're like, I can match it with these guys. And Fitzy's 5, which is like 5K road race here. That was Adam was actually at a holding camp for the Rio Olympics with Jess. So I spoke to Adam on the way into the race, and like my training was going pretty well. But Adam was like, just go and win it. Like whatever you got to do, just win it. Just go up the front, run away with it. And I was like, okay, if you say so. And then that's what I did, and that was kind of my big breakthrough. And it was all of a sudden that mindset shift of like, stop being competitive, go and win the thing. And then from there, it was onwards and upwards for me as an athlete. So yeah, I think it's like, I'd love to spell it out a bit more, but like, I think it's just like, I think when you look at the competitive side of running, once you get to a point where you're like competing in races, like everyone's fit. But it's like ultimately, like it does kind of come down to who wants it the most, and who's got that dog in them to get the result. So
who's in the best mind space too?
Yeah,
because like you were saying, I think the mind space is everything.
Yeah.
As well. Like if you go into something feeling like you're not going to fit in, or that you're not going to win, or that you're going to be third, then you're already putting yourself, like you were saying, in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think in endurance sport and running, it's interesting because we always, I think, compare as well to that kind of stuff, to these metrics or to what that person's done or whatever. And I think like if we can get out of that mind space as well, that can help make that shift.
And I think the beauty of running, and the thing that's always drawn me to running, is that it is as black and white as it comes. Like it is like, you run this quick. Like cool. That's how that's how I stack up then. But yeah, I think like I went to, like there was this sort of period like 2017 through to COVID where I'd rock up at the track locally anyway, and I'd win every race. I knew going there I'd win every race. And then poor Adrian Potter, I used to toy with him almost a little bit on the track, but then we'd flip the switch, and in winter I'd hang on, and then he'd bury me on the road all across country, and we kind of had this nice ding dong summer winter going on for a long time there. But like ultimately it was like it kind of ended up just being like, just winning's addictive, and if you can kind of put yourself in a position where you get to win a lot, like it is great. And very lucky that trained hard enough and got good enough that I was able to have that little period of sustained success. Because it's much harder now because the guys running around now are a lot better than they were a couple of years ago. So, but no.
Have you always had that trust in a coach, in somebody else? Because I think running can also be very individual, right? Like, we're doing it by ourselves. And I think it's easy these days as well to think that we can do everything by ourselves, but coaching is quite important. But also believing in the coach is very important. Like you brought that up, and I think that's so important to discuss as well, because, like I think if you don't have faith in who you're working with, then that's also going to make and break, your goals as well.
Yeah. I think the thing, like for me, I didn't come from that athletics or running background. And I'd seen the results that Adam was able to deliver with other athletes. And I think him and I really connected, which obviously helps, but like he's basically spending his whole life dedicated to helping these guys, or helping us as athletes get better as runners. So I think that the whole role of a coach is to set it out and take the guesswork out for you, and to give you a process to follow that ultimately is going to hopefully lead to success. Should you follow that that plan? So I had between like Jess and even Maddie Heiner earlier days, seen these athletes not come through, but seen these athletes develop, and more often than not, they'd get to their goal races, whether that's Olympics or like a local race or whatever, and they'd perform. And it's like, well, they're performing because they're doing as coach says. But especially, I think now as well, you've got like YouTube and like
Chat GPT.
But yeah, like, and like, I mean, I look at even I like quite enjoy indulging in like Jakob Ingebrigtsen's latest YouTube training diary, and like every athlete does it. And like, obviously you see like Izzy's starting to do it now. And I think the athletes now can very easily get sucked into that. And I think there's so much joy in that simplicity of what it was like back then, where you'd still put your stuff up on Instagram every now and then. And like Strava was only in its infancy. Like Adam had a ban on Strava because he didn't want us to jump on there and compare to other people. He wasn't that stressed about his training going out into the wild, but it was more almost protecting us as athletes to say, like, don't look at what he's doing. Don't look at what he's doing. Just focus on yourself. And I think, as much as we thought it was a bit of a joke at the time, I think, I certainly benefited from that initially, just to get that process right. But ultimately you're obviously runners one, like you pay a lot of like really, really good quality athletes in their own rights, but these guys are experts in their field. And like, I mean, push back onto physio again, like you can Google what to do if this part of your body hurts, but you're just guessing. And the thing that ChatGPT is never going to be able to do is like, it doesn't know how you feel. Oh, absolutely. Like that's what a coach is ultimately there for. And a coach is only going to give you as much as you give back to them. So, the more feedback you can provide your coach, the better program they're going to write, and the better planning that they're going to be able to do for you, and better advice they're going to be able to give. So, I think it's such a worthwhile investment for anyone of any level. Where no one's an expert in it. Like really, the audience we're talking to anyway, no one's an expert. So seek the advice of someone that is.
Yeah, exactly. Like me as a physio, I would never give anybody a running plan because that's not my expertise. You know, like you were saying, I think go to an expert in a field. I love that point, but I think too, like believing in the coach and like you hit a key thing back there, like not comparing on Strava. I think it's very interesting. It's very easy in the running space to compare, to others, even if, even a weekend warrior, like looking at what their mates are doing on Strava or whatnot. Like, I think running these days has become quite interesting because everybody's doing these extravagant events these days, and you can see everything these days, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. And it's kind of hard to maybe not compare. I can understand that, but I think that's too where having a coach can be important because, like, if you were going through it alone and you were flicking through Instagram, seeing somebody run, every single day, 7 days a week, or doing 100K run like people are doing these days, or this and that, like you can feel almost bad about yourself for what you're doing at your stage. And I think like honing it back in and believing in somebody, who has a plan for you is it's better on your body, but it's better on your long-term outcome as well. And your love for running. Like, I think you can fall out of love with running if you let it, if you're seeing all of these things and you get frustrated because you're not doing this or that, it can become like a burden in a sense.
For sure. And I think like that ultimately was what it kind of became a bit of a chore to me. Sort of like further down the track, but it's like running, like what are you running for? Like, and I think like my answer to that right now is probably social more than anything else. Like I'm like fortunate that I did enough years of training really hard that my like sort of base fitness is handy, and like it doesn't take me long to then like get a little bit fitter again. But and I'm never gonna like try and challenge for the PBs I had, but I enjoy staying fit. But the main thing I run for now is to catch up with my mates, and every now and then I've got to run on my own, and I'll go for a run on my own and go, that's boring.
And that sucks. Yeah.
So next time I'm going to run with my mates.
Yeah.
So, I think that running, like ultimately, like running is an individual sport. But it's sort of, I think individuals probably need to work out what their relationship with running is and what it's going to look like. And if it is for performance, then yeah, sure. Like you probably do need to figure out a way to switch off from what other people are doing. But I think it's, I don't know, like I pack around a golf course, and golf is so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like it's like I can hit a ball okay, but I'm like shooting maybe into the 80s on a great day. But I think, and I get so frustrated out there. I'm like, why are you getting frustrated? You don't practice this. You're never going to play professionally. And I kind of almost think almost wonder whether that's the sort of thinking that like a rec runner probably needs to have as well. Like, I don't mean that. I don't want that to come across as being controversial at all. But it's kind of like what you do is based on what you can put in. And if you can only run 3 days a week, then how can you expect to run what your mate's doing on Strava that's running 6 days a week? And like, I think like, because there's so many we'll call them recreational runners, but like going back to the shop, the people that I love seeing in the shop the most is every now and then we'll get some guy walk in and like, he's still pretty solid, but you kind of chat, oh yeah, how's your running going? It's like, oh yeah, just getting into it a bit, like just walk jogging at the moment. But I was like, oh, what got you into running? And he's like, oh, like I was actually 160 kilos 6 months ago, and he's probably still 110. But you're like, you've dropped 50 kilos, like that stuff, like that gets me going in the shop. Like when I see someone that's like that, to me is the most impressive thing ever. Or we see a lot of like young mums, like they come in, they've had their second or third kid, and they did run a long time ago, but then having to, we can't all bounce back like Jess Stenson did. Like that's near impossible for most people. So like the fact that these women put themselves through so much, and then they can find time within looking after a couple kids and probably working as well to then go back and like just get back to running a 10K in like 50 minutes. I'm like, that is nuts. Like I find that stuff so inspiring. So I think that's probably the stuff that like impresses me most about the running community at the moment. But yeah, it's just, figure out your own relationship with it. Why do you do it? And then, figure out how to get those kicks and tune out to the other BS.
Yeah, I think your why is super important. I love that. Yeah. I love that one. From nationals, where did things go from there?
So 2018 was sort of the first year I was like, I could like potentially make a team here. I actually, Jacob Cox, I raced in Newcastle, missed the qualifying standard for the Commonwealth Games by 2 seconds. A couple of weeks later, Jacob Cox actually paced me at our state championships here, and we got the qualifier, which was great. And then, went to nationals as the fastest seed. So this was the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. Got up there to Carrara, and I finished second to a guy called James Nippers, and that was Nippers. I think that was his 6th national title. But he just beat me. And then Commonwealth Games were only a couple months later in April that year. Got done by half a second, but I was the fastest Australian for that year. And it's like, all right, well, back to the drawing board. There's a World Championships next year, and then an Olympics a couple of years later. Sort of just got back on with it and got fitter. And 2019 sort of entered that season like, I've got nothing to lose here, like everything to gain. The steeplechase at that stage was kind of 4 or 5 of us running like every event, but there was only probably 2 or 3 of us that were like genuinely competitive. Matt Clark entered the chat. So 2019, sort of won the 2 main or 2 domestic steeples. Matt was second in both of those events. And then got to nationals, and like athletes talk about flow state a lot, but nationals that day, that was my flow state. Like I went in there and I was like, the only one that's going to beat me today is myself. I'm going to do something stupid, but you're not going to do that. Like control the pace. 600 meters to go, you're going to accelerate, and you're just going to burn everyone to the ground. And I did exactly that. I almost stumbled on one of the hurdles with 300 meters to go. Got a bit too excited. Eyes lit up, but across the finish line, that was just the best feeling I've ever had. yeah, and won in like a pretty quick time as well. So I ran new PB on that night to win the national title. Went to America, raced at Stanford University, and ran 8:29, 0.4, which was 0.4 of a second off the World Championship standard. And I was I think I was the first guy to go sub 8:30 since maybe 2012, first Australian. So I've been 7 years since anyone done that, and I was kind of the first of that crop to do it. So, and obviously that was a year before an Olympics, so I'm starting to dream big with that. Although we missed the standard, they'd changed the qualifying for the Olympics, so they kind of had a quota. So it was just like, we're going to take the best 45 athletes in the world. So over the course of that year, my ranking improved for the Olympics, but it was still a standard for the championships. But we thought I'd get in on roll down, so I think I was ranked 39th. Then the World Championships that year in October. Normally that would be sort of August, September. So the qualifying window stayed open a lot longer. And then literally like the weekend it was closing, I went from ranked 39th to 47th. I had 8 guys jump me. I was like, oh, bugger. So like hopefully something came up, but it didn't, unfortunately. But we're like, that's okay because we've got the Olympics next year. Went to World Uni Games that year as well, which is another great reason to go back to uni, was to get to World Uni Games. So for those that were there, it was just the best trip. It was in Naples in Italy, which was incredible. I ran like an awesome heat and then completely buggered up the final, but that's okay. We move on. Good experience nonetheless. And then, so 2020 starts. I had a little bit of a niggle going into 2020. So it was a little bit of a slow start to the year, but I'm like, that's okay. Like the Olympics are in August. I'm going to be fine here. So start getting going. We went to Auckland for a race over there, end of Feb. That was okay. But I was sort of like really tracking in the right direction. But my ranking points had improved really well. And at the time I was ranked 27th in the world, and they were taking 45. So I was like, I basically had to stay upright and I would have gone to the Olympics. And then COVID hit. We had no idea what was going on, but you'd filled out all your paperwork for the Olympics and everything, and you're dreaming of what was going to be. And then the world shut down, and so okay, we'll see what happens now. And I reckon it would have been June or July. They said that all qualifications so far would be scrapped, with the exception of the marathon, because a lot of the marathon teams had already been picked. But athletics was basically just start afresh. So my safe position in the Olympic field had been completely taken out from underneath me, and it was sort of like, all right, well, back to work we go. And then as Matt said, I was moving really well. Went to sort of like a little bit my head a bit. Like I must admit, I was kind of like, I think then at that point I'd put the pressure on because last year was a foregone conclusion basically. It was a pandemic that took it away from me. So I think I was a little bit in my head about how much I had to catch up on, I guess. But then, so I was probably pushing a little bit too hard. Didn't have the results initially that I was hoping for. Raced a couple of extra 5Ks that in another world we probably wouldn't have done. And tore my calf. And it wasn't like a load spike or anything like that. I think then the thing that we probably boiled it down to was I think I just got a little bit too thin. And I've always been compared to a lot of the other guys, always been probably a little bit on the more solid size. But I just got a little bit too thin, I think, and that's what blew the calf out. And a few honest discussions with Adam, and it wasn't going to happen that year because obviously we couldn't travel overseas either to chase more qualifying opportunities. So we basically said, well, it's probably not going to be this year. So, then that was where the opportunity came up to help pace Matt. And it was sort of like, Matt's a great guy. I was one of his groomsmen, he was one of my groomsmen. We're really good mates. And that came because he moved to Adelaide, took a chance to train with me and join Adam. And I was like, well, this could be fun, and this would at least make me feel like I've kind of got there. We went to Cairns, did a time trial, and he ran really well, but not quite well enough. And the next weekend we fronted up on the Gold Coast and did the same thing. And again, we got closer, but not quite close enough. And then we did a stupid time trial on a Sunday morning here, and it was hosing it down in the rain. It was about 12 degrees, I reckon. It was just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And, we were both tired and emotionally. He's crossed the line, dragging his ass like
Yeah.
this. And, I'm crying as he's crossing the line. I'm like, why am I crying? It doesn't matter at all. But yeah, ultimately, like, he got to go, and like I was so pumped for him, and I'd got myself into really good shape, and it was 2022 because of the COVID stuff, World Championships and Commonwealth Games in the same year. So I was like, right, there's 2 opportunities here. Let's go for it. But I think by then I'd sort of come to a point where, like, running's like, running is brutal, and I think it kills me. I can't remember who said it. It was a racing car driver. I'm a big Howie Games fan. I love like interviews with all the these sporting people, but someone said, like, it's not. We talk about sacrifices a lot in sport and life. Like, you make sacrifices to do this stuff, and it's probably thrown around a little bit too much in sport, I think. But this person, he said, like, I didn't sacrifice anything to achieve what I did with my sport. It's my family, my friends that have sacrificed, and I think that really resonated with me. Like, when you're like in your 20s and whatever, like, I didn't go out partying because I'd long run the next day, and I made that choice. Like, I'd rather go to long run and have coffee with my mates afterwards. So I think it's the other people around you that sacrifice. And by the time 2022 came around, like, Gabs and I had bought a house, and like, we got the dogs, and and I was really enjoying. I was at the running company at this stage and working a little bit more, and I'm very fortunate that I really enjoy life outside of running. And like, I definitely said I'd much rather sit down and watch cricket than watch running. So like, it's the stuff outside of running that I really enjoy and really have a passion for as well. But I was probably a little bit exhausted and a bit burnt out with running. So coming into 2022, I'm like, right, this is it, last chance. If we don't make it this year, then that's probably all I've got. To commit emotionally, probably more than anything. Went in pretty high expectations, but then, like the year before, probably it took a long time for me to really get going because I'd put so much pressure on myself to say, like, this is your last dance, basically. We ended up, I wasn't going to go overseas, but then we just don't have the opportunities in Australia to qualify, really. So had a really good race in Melbourne, finished second to Matt at Nationals. So we had really good ranking points, but we had to go to overseas to get more points and ultimately get into faster races, because that's the one thing that Australian steeplechasing in particular lacks, is that depth. And I think that's such an important thing at that top level. Is you look at a 1500 or a 5K national event or an 800, like there's really good solid packs of guys running around. So some of the domestic times that are being run now in those events is awesome. And it's such a good sign of the depth that we have in Australian athletics right now. Whereas steeple, we're only going to have 3 or 4 guys that are pushing those sort of paces, and there's a program that's trying to help that leading into the Brisbane Olympics, which is awesome. But at the time we didn't have that, so you have to go overseas. You have to get in these races where there's pacemakers and deeper, thicker fields that are going to help to push you further. Because it's not that I wouldn't say there's like a drag element of it. Like, you don't get any real gain from sitting behind someone, but it's definitely that switching off and trusting that the pace is on, and that helps you conserve energy. So go over the States and jump into a bunch of races and see how we go. And I had 2 like pretty good races and 2 like real bad races, and sort of just finished on the outside of the quota again. And but basically by the end of the last race, I was like, because I travelled Matt, Caitlin Adams, Adam Goddard, Isaac Hayne, like, they're all brilliant runners in their own right, and we had a great time. But training camps can be a slog. Like, and I think if you're like at home, I was like, I'd run in the morning, go to work all day, then run at night, and love that routine, and love being able to go home to Gabs and the dogs and go be social on the weekend with my mates. And like, I loved hanging out with those guys. But training camps are a slog. Like, you're tired all the time. Like, you're in a foreign country, and like, we were in Albuquerque of all places, and Albuquerque's a pretty fun. Like, it's like, I'm glad I went, but I'm not necessarily recommending people go to Albuquerque. So it just probably took its toll on me, and I was pretty ready to not to back it up, but I was pretty done with the like, really trying to achieve at a high level, and then found out missed out on both teams, and again by the barest of margins. But that was probably it for me from a performance standard. And from there, it's just been, I think running's just, like we said before, it's just turned into this social thing as much as anything. I love road racing. I'm never like going to be an incredible road racer. I can't do 200K weeks and that silly stuff that some of these guys are doing. But I love being able to, I think the beauty of road racing is, and trail racing is the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter, you do a half marathon, whether you run that half marathon in 60 minutes or 2 hours, you get to 14K and it's still hard. And like the hill of 17K is still just as hard for the guy that's running an hour as it is for the guy that's running 2 hours. And I think that connection is so awesome, and I love. And like people come into the shop and they go like, "Oh, have you run? I'm running Sydney Marathon this year." I'm like, "Sweet." When you get to this point, it's like so hard, but it's so worth it when you get to this point and this point and this point. And I think like I love that side of road running. And trails is the same. Like you got these fast trail runners and you got slow trail runners, but they're all just out there having a crack. And I think track running in particular is so insular and in a lot of ways takes itself too seriously. But like it's a completely different world, and that's not to get too political, but as a sport, like Athletics Australia has always wanted to try and connect that rec runner and bring the sport under one banner, because ultimately it's still running. It's track and field, or it's road racing, or it's trail, even triathlon. You can lump in that situation as well, but they're two completely different worlds. And like I think you label things as state championships, like immediately you turn off 95% of the running population, really. Like Riley and Jacob and Fraser and Izzy do a great job of getting a lot of the Runners One guys out to these state championships. But like the guys that I run with, I'm like, "Do you want to go do this 5K at the track?" And they're like, "Nah. I do a state champs.
Yeah.
What am I doing that for?"
Yeah.
And like, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. So yeah, it's the whole to be out of track running is like, just so refreshing, and I love it.
Yeah. But runner, like I love what you brought up. Like a runner is a runner, you know, like it's different worlds, but whether you're doing, a track running or a 5K or, a marathon or whatever, it's still running, really.
Yeah.
It's under the same umbrella and it's the same world, really.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me how, these different avenues are separate still. And it would be cool if they could all kind of come under one umbrella one day. What does running mean to you now after all of that?
I think, I mean, there's so many different layers. And I think like for me, it's in particular, it's probably finding that balance between work and play, I guess. Cause like I can't escape it. Like you go into the shop and obviously it's all you do is talk running for 8 hours or whatever. Which is great. I love it. I love the people I meet. I love the product we get to work with, but I think as a thing, it's definitely that routine and that social thing. So being able to get up I'm a big morning runner now. I never was, but Gabs and I are out the door running by 6 o'clock most mornings. Just such a great way to start the day, and like that routine of it. And like when you're injured, I think that's probably the thing that suffers the most. Like I do find, even if I have a rest day, I'm a bit like, the whole day's a bit of a drag. Because I think it's just like there's so much value in just moving your body in whatever way that is. If you can have the worst day, or like you can maybe have a slow day at work, or you're not quite motivated, but whatever you've done, you've got out the door and you've been for a run in the morning, and that's so good. So I think it's probably the routine and the social side of things for me is definitely what running is now, and I sort of just like almost try and enter events that kind of take my fancy, which is nice. And like if I can rinse myself to whatever that ability is, or whatever the fitness level is on the day, like I think that's probably the thing that excites me at the moment. But I just love the people that it brings together, and I think like especially comparing to like training at Team Tempo to training like with the guys I run with now, it's like it's so you got to run at Team Tempo, and it's so running focused. I don't know what Runners One long runs are like, but like you're just talking running, and like obviously I do that work all day. So but I find that like the guys I run with now, they're probably a little bit older, and like you got kids, or like it's talking about the footy or the cricket or whatever, and politics and random stuff. And I think that's probably such a good opportunity to have like here's a couple of hours with your mates that you can just talk shit. And that's like how lucky are we that we've found that avenue in our life. And obviously you having moved here from the other side of the world, like what a great way to meet people through running. And I've got these friends that like I said before, like Jacob, someone I raced when I was 15, and now he's a good mate. And like Matt's one of my best mates, and certain mates of mine that have come into running because of me through like sort of my Thursday morning group has been so good. And Gabs and I love running together, and that's something that I don't take for granted, to have a partner that enjoys going out for a jog and a coffee. So yeah,
everybody, it's good because with running, with endurance sport, I think everybody comes from a different story. Everybody comes from a different area. But then, like you were saying, you have an hour or two on a long run, and you know you can get to know other people, or anything comes up. Like
running is the great equalizer because you put your shoes on, you put your singlet on, you go out for a run, and you don't know that person might be, she'll know who I'm talking about, but they might be the head of Ashford Hospital, or this guy's just first year uni, and they're on the same run together, and they're chatting about life. And in normal life, they wouldn't cross paths at all. Runners won 500 of them. So, like we're so lucky that running gives us those opportunities to meet all these fascinating people. Very lucky.
What are you excited about in the world of maybe footwear and the world of running? What do you think you're excited about?
I think like we're at such a unique point with running because we've had so much growth as a sport over the last 6 years, in particular since COVID. The way that running's marketed now is so different to what it used to be. Like, as I said, it was dorky, it was lame. Heaps good runners on Instagram. I love his stuff because it's just like kind of takes the piss out of it, and how like running used to be lame and whatever, but which it was. But now it's this machine almost, and you've got to as much look the part as you do like in terms of like that's almost half the thing now. It's not necessarily about times, it's about like fitting in almost, and which is good and bad in its own way. But I think, I don't know, ultimately, like the more people that run and walk, we'll throw walking in there as well, but the more people that move, the better off we are as a society, and that's the most important thing. So I think once you start running or walking, the main thing is that you keep doing it in whatever form fits into your life the best, and the healthier our society can be. And we know that exercise is so good for your mental health as well as your physical health. Like, overall society's better off for it. Like, as we just said, I'm grumpy and moody if I haven't exercised. So we don't want 27 million Australians being grumpy and moody every morning. Like, get outside and do something for your head. And I think running as a sport and how it's marketed is going to change a little bit. I think running almost needs to kind of find that fine line now of like, let's make it probably a little bit more approachable almost. Like,
I think it's getting it.
I worry that we've kind of gone a little bit too far.
Yeah.
The look
I think the look, everything's about distance these days.
Yeah.
It's about time. You know, I think a lot of the space now is, oh, you just did this event. What did you get? Or I loved your question, you know, off mic. What was the best experience that you had? You know, because like those are the things that we used to ask all the time, but we've gotten away from that now.
Yeah.
It's more so, oh, cool, you just ran this. What time did you get?
Yeah.
Or, you know, how long did you run for? This and that. Like it's gotten away from us a little bit, I think. Yeah.
And like what that looks like and what shape that takes, I've got no idea. I just sell shoes. Like you listen to these marketing, obviously when the brands present to us their ranges for future seasons, they'll quite often like to throw in what their marketing campaign is going to be like and who they're trying to, which audience they're trying to hit. But it's as a sport, I think, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the way that the sport's grown over the last few years, if you haven't taken up running in the last couple of years, you're probably not taking it up, like really. People come and go, of course, but I think the growth that we've had over the last few years, you're probably not going to see that growth again for a long time yet. So, I think it's probably the big thing for, as an industry, is going to be like, how do you keep people running? People are only going to tolerate missing out on a spot at Sydney Marathon for so long until they find something new, like a Hyrox, or the strength conditioning industry is always going to have something new it's going to throw after Hyrox, and triathlon's the same thing. So it's sort of like, what are we doing as a sport to try and keep things interesting, and how do you keep people in the sport and investing in the sport? So
one of the
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like you're saying, I'm just a physio, you sell shoes, who knows really? But one of the final things that I want to ask is, what are you wearing footwear wise? What are you
how
liking?
long you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, a very fortunate position where like quite often get to wear stuff that a lot of people don't see for a little bit, or you just get it a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm not quite getting this buy-in from some of my staff, but I reckon, to me personally, I'm probably like done with the high stack cushion trainers. Like I just feel like my knees and my hips just go like, what are you doing this for? Like, you just got to feel the ground a little bit more, Max.
Like
I was talking about,
like I was talking about my Achilles. Like, I've taken away that kind of stuff. Not like all of my shoes, but hey, you're working muscles that haven't worked for a long time.
I think for me, like, it's that trainer that's like 240 to 260. That's the thing that, like, I'm really sort of reaching for at the moment. I think, I don't know. I think that's where the market's going to go, especially if we talk like cost of living. The shoes that are coming from a lot of the brands around that price point are really good. We're getting that super trainer sort of feel in a slightly more approachable package. Like Novolast's, what are we, 5 or 6, whatever the new one is that'll come out in July, is awesome. Peg Plus, Endorphin Azura, Evo SL type shoes, Deviate. There's a new version of the Puma Deviate coming without a plate that I've been running in a little bit, and I really like that. So I think, long answer, I'm avoiding how many shoes I'm running in at the moment, but this new Puma Deviate shoe, got a pair from Nike. I picked up the other day a new version of one of the Pegasus offerings, which I like. New Balance Ellipse, that's a new shoe that's just come out. I really like that. It's just a boring jogging shoe that looks nice too. Nike Vomero, I have got a pair of Super Blast 3. It's good. I like it. But yeah, it's probably like, I think it's probably almost just a long run only shoe for me. But then I don't find the new Super Blast poppy enough to run fast in it. Like, I like jogging in it, but I'm probably not using it as that sort of long run and pick up type shoe anymore. But I think it's just, I mean, that's the question you get asked the most when customers come in. It's like, well, what are you running? To any brands that listen, like, the best thing that you can do is give like a casual staff member a free pair of shoes, because you'd be amazed if New Balance give you a pair of shoes. What's the first shoe that you're only working there 2 days a week? What's the first shoe you're looking for when you go out the back? And it's probably a pair of New Balance, because New Balance hooked to your pair. So, I think, like, and the product's just so good. Like, I could run in hundreds of shoes and be happy. And it's kind of a running joke that all my mates come over and Gabs will be like, go look in the garage now, see what's there. And it's sort of like you got to check Max's garage before you leave just to see how many are there and what he's liking. So
there you go.
I don't know. They're all good.
They're all good.
They're all good.
They all have something to give, I think. Yeah. Where can people find you guys? Where can people find you?
Reluctant social media user, I must admit. Something that I know I should be doing a little bit more of. But the shop's the Running Company Adelaide. And then, I'm Max Stevens. Certainly don't post as much as I used to, but but I'm always roaming around, as I said, most of the events, and always happy to chat to anyone that's around, and always like love hearing what other people are doing, and like you said, what excites you, and that's probably what I'm looking for, is give me new reasons to get excited about new events or where to go check out a run. So,
there you go. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting.
Thanks, Jordan.
That'll be in the show note for you listening, so you can definitely check out the Running Company there. But thank you for coming on and spending the time. This was great, and
thanks.
I think definitely the person listening has gotten a lot from this. I think running is, like we were saying, it's exploded, and I think if people can stay moving, that's an important thing. What is something that you want to leave the listener with? It's
probably that. Just keep moving. Just find what works for you. and roll with it. Don't get caught up in what other people are doing. Just, whether it's running or walking or swimming, whatever it is, figure out what helps give you kicks and gives you that escape from your day to day, and most importantly, find people you enjoy doing it with as well, because that's what keeps you motivated, but also gives you that social side too.